Welcome and thank you for joining us virtually today amidst social distancing to hear from some amazing women. Today we have Candace from Candace Read, Stephanie from @Stephanie Taylor Jackson, and Taryn from @Taylor Newton. We hope that you and your loved ones are healthy and that thank you for staying home with us and tuning in. I just want to introduce myself really quickly. I'm Shay, a family and lifestyle blogger behind Shay Monet. I am 1/4 member of Influencing in Color, and our mission is to provide a positive influence for women of color through advocacy, collaboration, and commitment to diversity and inclusivity. So I'm so happy to be here today and moderate for Like to Know It Summer Series Black Community Panel. Like to Know It is partnering with their community to recruit and continue expanding their network of influencers, tastemakers, creators, and stylists. Candace, Stephanie, and Taryn, as our Black community panel, are all here this evening to share their unique stories with you and inspire you to turn your influencing into a viable career. During the panel, please feel free to submit any questions you may have via the Q&A function, and we'll be able to answer tons of those questions at the end of the video. So without further ado, let's do a warm welcome for Candace, Stephanie, and Taryn.
Hi. I like that we all wave the same way.
Right.
Spirit fingers.
We all wave the same way.
Well, I am so glad to be here with you ladies today and learn more about you guys and your journey and your influencing career. I look up to all of you guys, so I'm super excited that I got to be here and do this. So let's get started with the questions while everyone's here. So tell me about your backgrounds and how you got into the influencer space and what were each of you doing before you became content creators. I cannot talk tonight. And let's start with Candace.
Okay, let's see. So my start. I first started blogging back in 2009, and that was when I was competing for the title of Miss Georgia. And one of the goals while you're competing is to really show readiness for the job of Miss America. It's a really short gap from winning the state pageant to going to the nationals. And so you wanted to create this opportunity to show that you were fully ready and give the judges an opportunity to see the philanthropic work you're doing, behind the scenes, what you're doing on your platform, etc. And so I started a blog in preparation for Miss Georgia. I didn't win, which is fine, but I gained a lot of really cool life skills. And when I moved to New York for grad school, I just converted the blog into a lifestyle blog, and then a natural evolution happened and it became a fashion focused blog. So it's been a part of my journey for quite a while.
Well, I think we will all say that we would have voted for you so that you could win.
Oh, thanks.
So, Stephanie, how about you?
So actually my background is in journalism. And when I was in college, my original vision was to move to New York and write for a major fashion magazine. So I started my blog originally in college. I think it was called J'adore Couture or something like that. It was really cheesy. But it married my two passions of fashion and writing. But after I graduated, my husband and I got married. We started a family. So the dream changed a little bit and really kind of switched gears and changed course just with everything that was happening with my life. But around 2013, 2014, I got the itch to start doing something creative again as an outlet for my work life and just being a mom to my two sons. And I actually started an online luxury little girls clothing boutique that had a fashion blog attached to it. After about 2 years, I realized I just want to stick to fashion blogging. So I stopped the boutique and relaunched as Steph Taylor Jackson. So I've been doing that ever since. And my background is in retail operations and retail management. So I was doing that in tandem at the same time while also just doing that relaunch. So yeah, that's what I was doing.
Perfect. Maybe you'll open up another boutique since you're having a little girl.
No, I think I like shopping boutiques.
You're like, I'm not doing the work.
I don't want to do the work anymore.
Taryn, how about you?
Yeah, so I am complete opposite. Like I don't have any style background or fashion background. I started off actually in like a science background thinking I was going to be a doctor, and then I like realized that I cannot handle blood. And then I transferred over to being in HR, and that's where I'm at now, where it's still nothing blog related. And so I wanted an outlet. So I started like a dressy fashion blog back in 2016. And I was doing that for a little bit, wasn't really getting anywhere, wasn't really successful, wasn't connecting with my audience. And then at that point, I was like, all right, I'm not inspired. My audience is not connecting with me. Let me pull back. And at that time, I was also pregnant with my third son, Cyrus. And I had gestational diabetes. And I was like, all of those, I was like, let me just pull back from blogging. Let me reassess. Let me figure it out. And at that point, I took a full year off. And so came back in 2018 because I felt like I really still had something I wanted to share, but I wanted to do it completely different. And I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I just want to be able to share like all of my life. And I want to share it very honest, very authentically. So I want to share home, kids, marriage stuff, finance stuff, everything. And so I just took it one post at a time and just started kind of sharing more of my life very authentically. And I feel like at that point, that's when I really felt like I started to connect with my audience. And then, we've been growing it ever since.
Amazing. Congrats on your new baby boy.
Thank you.
Congrats.
He's so cute.
So handsome. I look at your pictures, I'm like, those are some good looking boys.
And I'm kind of worried about like what the girls are going to be doing later. So I just need to have them all stand back, fall back.
Literally,
yep. You already know, Stephanie, like fall back.
I already know.
Fall back.
So funny. So our next question is, in addition to content creating as a side hustle, I understand that you all are still working full-time jobs. How do you find balance between your part-time passions and your full-time careers? Steph, we'll start with you.
Okay, so now currently I work in corporate retail and I oversee operations for a luxury retail brand. So it's a very delicate balance because my job keeps me very busy, but I try to just make sure everything in my life has its time. And I'm also really, really careful about who has access to my time, just because I had to realize early on, like everybody can't have access to like my precious time, because there's just so much to do. So when I'm working, I'm like 100% focused there. I rarely look at my cell phone, like my personal cell phone, because I feel like the people who need to reach me during business hours know my work cell phone number. So like I try to be very focused on my job. And then when work hours are over, I'm with my family, and that's our time together. So whether it's eating meals or watching movies or just catching up from the day, that's our time. And then after the kids and my husband are taken care of, that's my time to work on my business. So sometimes I get up very early and start working, or I have late nights just to make sure I get my work done. But I think, it's definitely a delicate balance, and you have to just make sure that you, like I said, give everything its time. And I certainly don't always get it right. And the blog at this point, after, having it for so many years, in many aspects is full-time work. So from the time commitment to the financial aspect, it all feels very full-time. So something else I've also done recently is I hired my mom to join my team. Since she's retiring this year, I was like, you're mine now, thank you.
She's like, I didn't plan on doing this.
Yeah, so I was like, you need to keep that mind working. I have something just for you. So she's working with me, and then I also have my kids work for me as well. So I train them on just photography basics so that I'm just never in a bind or like waiting on anybody else to get something done. So
that's amazing. It's a family affair.
It is.
Taryn, how about you?
Yes, so I also work full time, and I actually run benefits for a heating and cooling company that is about 5,000 to 6,000 employees. So I handle all the benefits. I oversee all the benefits for that company, and that is a lot of work, a lot of responsibility. I worked my way up on the corporate ladder, and I'm grateful for that. But it is not easy because my blog has kind of just really grown, and, you know, my blog has now surpassed my corporate job, just income and just time needed. And so first off, teamwork is so important. My husband and I would not be able to do all this without my husband helping us. And so after we get the kids to bed, I work typically like a 7 to 4 hour. After I get the kids to bed, it's like focus on the kids activities. I always make sure that I like bring my computer if I'm like sitting waiting for the kids sports. And then in the evening, I just like try to plow out as much as I can. But what is nice is, since I'm kind of like a family and lifestyle blogger, a lot of it is just me doing my life. And so I'm able to like kind of take my kids along for the ride. But it is all hands on deck. Another thing that helps is like Stephanie, I just hired my first kid employee. My son is now my warehouse guy, and so he does like all of my inventory and all of my stuff of that nature. So he gets $15 every time he does inventory, and if it's not up to par, then I do dock him. And so that helps me stay organized. And so we're just trying to find a way to be more efficient. And then I do a lot of my like behind the scenes things, typically in the mornings on the weekends when my kids are like, hey, I'm just kind of winding in my day. And my husband will be so amazing and helps me like kind of just wrangle them so I can like plow on some work.
Look, I'm already exhausted after everything.
I'm exhausted saying that.
I'm like, woo. Candace, how about you? I know that you're a stylist, correct?
Yes, I'm a wardrobe stylist, which is a lot of fun. And I should say, I was a full-time influencer solely before I became a stylist. And I found it very, very necessary to have a full-time job for community, and being surrounded by people. Sometimes I don't think people talk about it. Being an influencer can be a really lonely job. And so I wanted community, and that's why I chose to have both. And so finding balance is definitely tricky because I work in service. I'm at the mercy of the client. So I do a lot of organizing and compartmentalization, which I feel like I have just mastered this past year. Putting everything in its bucket, or in its bucket rather, kind of like what Stephanie was saying, like allotting time to each individual thing. So, you know, Monday through Friday, I am with clients from 9 to 5. And then, you know, when I come home in the evenings, I'm working, and then kind of setting priorities on my weekend schedule as well. Like there's one Saturday where I'm taking a client, and then, you know, the rest of my Saturdays are open for content creation. And what really, really helps is my husband is all hands on deck, you know, with the blog. He sees the value in that and is super helpful. And we have an assistant, Olivia, who's great. And we're looking to add someone else to our team. So it's definitely, like they have both said, a delicate balance, but when it's a priority, you figure out a way to make it happen and you just do it.
And this is fun.
It is fun.
So sometimes it doesn't feel, I mean, it does feel like work, but at the end of the day, we do it because it's something that's fun and we enjoy doing it. So right. Make sure, like Stephanie said, I think it has to be a passion, something that you're very passionate about to keep it going, because it's long days.
It is long days, and I agree. Like while we're talking about it being work, most days it doesn't feel like work, but it's not just show up and you take a picture and that's it. So, and I think sometimes people think that is truly only what we do.
Yeah, there's a huge business aspect to it too. And so finding that balance and making sure that you are running a profitable business is
key.
Is profitable. And that you're paying your taxes on.
Yeah, I was just about to say paying your taxes and all that stuff.
Yeah, seriously.
That's a whole nother Zoom call.
That's a whole nother webinar.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next question. So tell us, what does a typical week look like for each of you? Taryn, how about you go first?
Yeah, so again, right now everything looks a little bit different for two reasons. First, like many of you guys, COVID. And so I know for my full-time job that's like 9 to 5, we're working from home, but it also looks even more different because I'm currently on maternity leave. But so I'm just going to talk about our new normal, about it both being work from home. And I think that it's easy to kind of have those lines kind of cross if you are still working from home, but it's important to me that I'm very present with both of my jobs because I want to make sure that I'm doing both at 100%. So I kind of just still put everything away, and I just make sure that before I start my day, I am looking at both my planner, looking at my calendar, and making sure that I'm organized. But I cannot stress enough that I would literally be like going crazy if I did not stay organized and prioritize and learn the value of saying no when I need to. And so I do my full-time job in the day, focus on my kids in the evening, and then later in the evening, that's when my time to really dive into blogging. And then we kind of have a rotation with our photographer to kind of shoot every other week. Lately, we've been having to do every week, but I think for me, it's just important of making sure that everything stays on the books, because if it's not on the books, then it's like completely irrelevant and I don't even pay attention to it. So that's kind of how I manage my week, is just making sure that every day I'm present and on each position, and making sure that I'm looking at schedules to make sure I'm not crossing anything over.
Perfect. Candace, how about you?
So again, I am like 9 to 5 wardrobe therapy with clients. I typically am an early riser to get some like admin stuff done on the blog, just so I can be fully present. You know, I'm with clients for 3-hour blocks at a time, so I don't have a lot of in between. But then at 5, typically that's when I wind down with the day, dinner with Jason. And then we spend some time in the evening, you know, kind of going through contracts, whatever we need to do. But when we're alleviated of a lot of that pressure, like the day-to-day things that just need to happen without us can still happen. And then I leave the weekends to like the really intensive kind of stuff, content creation, taking photos, all that stuff. Monday through Friday, I'm pretty much maxed out. So like Taryn was saying, the organization component is literally like king. I mean, both calendars are up and kind of just making sure there's no overlap. Oftentimes can't recover when there's like a mistake. It just is this like, you know, pendulum that just keeps swinging and just takes you out. So organization is king.
Steph, are you organized? You're next.
I am. What are you implying, Shay?
I'm just asking.
I am organized. I don't use a planner. I use my Outlook calendar, but like, you know, everything has a folder, everything, you know, just has its place and has its time. So that's so critical, I think, as an influencer or just anybody who has 2 businesses that they're running. So, you know, yes, very organized. Monday through Friday, I'm working my 9 to 5, like I mentioned, a little bit at home, like Taryn was saying, due to COVID. And then I'm also out in the field because I do have like a team and people that I support. So whether I'm bouncing between Dallas and Houston, you know, that's kind of what it looks like for me. But if I have blog work to complete, I'm usually up as soon as the sun is up. Like this morning I woke up at 4. I think that was like more so due to the baby. Like if I can't rest, then I just wake up and go ahead and start my day. But I'm like up very early and usually am up kind of late as well, just getting things done. And I think, you know, in order to get it all done and really manage my time, because I try to reserve the weekends for family time. Like if I have blog work to do, I try to do it in the morning just so it doesn't interrupt or take over the whole day. One reason to spend time with the family, and then another reason is because I worked in retail for like store side for years, and I worked my weekends. And so like now that I don't work weekends, I try to, you know, really reserve that time for my family, for all those years that I missed out on that time. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of me in a nutshell. Very early mornings, late nights. My kids know the drill. Like around 9 o'clock, you know, they can go upstairs and start FaceTiming their friends and play Fortnite while mom starts working on the blog. So it's a routine that everyone in the house is kind of on board with. So it's nice.
Do you guys use, because a lot of people on here are wanting to be influencers or starting influencing right now. Can each of you share maybe like an app that helps you stay organized, or some like a tool that you use?
Yes, Asana project management is key. So it connects with your Google Calendar. So if you had deadlines, literally everything like will be in Asana and it'll cross-reference both ways. So I highly recommend it. Lists for each project. It's fantastic.
I might need that.
I think I need that.
I know.
It's
I'm
amazing.
Like, well.
Then you just add like your team members. So like Olivia and Jason are all on, and it sends auto replies. It's literally the greatest thing.
Send me that, girl. Go ahead and text
I'm
me.
gonna send
Go
you
ahead
that.
and text that out.
I got
Because
you.
I'm super old school. I'm like pen and paper for some things. Like some things I have to have a calendar for, but sometimes like it's in my brain when I actually write it. So.
And Taryn, I was literally the same way until this past year. Like I was so attached to my planner. Like I've had a planner literally since middle school. And with my styling work, everything is digital for our calendar. And I was like, I am stretching myself thin trying to have two different calendars. So I just had to find a way to marry the two. And they're both on Google, and you can connect them with Asana. So that's really what was a lifesaver. We can talk.
Love it. I use Google Sheets. So I just use like a file, and I've had it for, I think the first tab is like 2017. So I can see like just my growth, but I have it broken down by month. I've got every quarter has a financial goal attached to it. And then each month is broken down underneath the quarter. And then I just list out all of the different campaigns, when things are due, payment status, all of that. And then we just recently started using QuickBooks, self-employed. So my mom is helping me with the invoicing and just managing all of that, because that's
QuickBooks. I love it.
Yeah, I use both of those. So I do use Google Sheets, but my Google Sheets is not a calendar. It's like more so like tracking deadlines. And I have been using QuickBooks, which is really nice because my accountant has direct access to it. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you for sharing. I'm sure everyone was probably wondering how you guys stay organized. Our next question is, Like to Know It was created to both help you power your influencer business and provide consumers the answers to the questions that you always get. Where did you get that? How has Like to Know It helped you become the influencer that you are today? And let's start with Candace.
So one of the things that I've always loved about rewardstyle is their dedication to like providing the best resources. And I think we can all agree and say that Like to Know It, the technology they've created has definitely like empowered us. And I love that, you know, this technology has really helped me to level up, so to speak. You know, it's another layer and dimension to what I do as an influencer. It makes me unique in this space. So I really like that characteristic of the brand.
Steph, how about you?
Yeah, in addition to what Candace was saying, I would say for me, it's just been such a really great way to stay connected with my audience, share the things that I love, and just build this community of people where we're inspiring each other and sharing with each other, and, you know, just going through every phase of life together. You know, from when I started in the very beginning to now I'm sharing, you know, pregnancy style. It's so cool to be able to bring people together and build a community. It's very rewarding.
It's like your community grows with you, you know.
Yeah,
I was there. I get messages. I was there when you didn't have any kids and you and Ahmad were dating, like, and then now, you know, that growth. I love
That's
to
so
see that. Taryn, how about you?
Yeah, so I think that rewardstyle has really allowed us to connect, and I know for me personally, connect with my audience, just sharing the items that I love and then hoping that they in turn love the products, and then we connect on our products. Like, you know, I get so many messages like, hey, I got that from your link and I absolutely love it. I use it all the time now. And so I think that it's really great. And I think it also helps you build a level of trust with your community, because if you're sharing products that are wins for them all the time, then they're like, hey, I trust Taryn's judgment. And like Stephanie said, like I have just kind of evolved. And so, you know, I am building a house, so I'm sharing house decor. And so it's like, they're kind of going on that journey to see the style that I love. When I was pregnant, you know, I'm sharing pregnancy things and baby things. And so it's like, I'm connecting with pregnant moms. And so it's just another way to connect with the products that I love.
I love that. Our next question is, when you think back to when you first started, so go all the way back, what was the biggest challenge you faced and how did you overcome it? And let's start with Steph.
I think for me, it was learning how to slowly introduce different categories into my brand and how to evolve my brand while also staying on brand. because I started out strictly fashion because that's, you know, at my core, that's like what I love. That's what my audience typically knows me for. But then I started getting questions about beauty and, you know, people saying, I heard you have kids, but where are they? Because I didn't want to share my kids. I was like, this is my space. You know, every other part of my life, I was a wife, a mom, like they had so much of my time. Like I really wanted something of my own. So really figuring out how I was going to evolve, but also stay the same. Like I didn't want it to feel not true to StephTaylorJackson.com, but I also wanted to grow. So being able to now have beauty, lifestyle, a little bit of family. I try to make it very clear, like I'm not a mom blogger. Like don't come to me for mom advice. You know, I'll just share cute pictures of the kids. But, you know, just being able to add those different was a long process for me. Like I started just with beauty, and then I started trying to figure out how to do more lifestyle. And I just wanted, like I said, to stay on brand. And I also didn't want to feel like overly curated or like overly censored. Like I wanted to just be myself and try to figure out a way to do that. And then also, this is a long-winded answer, sorry. One of the other things was people were so like at the time, and this was like years ago, like people like had these like super curated feeds, and some people still do, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I kind of felt like I had to do that too. And I'm just not a like overly curated person. So like I would try to do it, and then I would like mess up with one photo and I get stressed out, like, oh my God, did I ruin everything, you know? So yeah, I mean, that was a challenge too, just being able to stay focused and stay in my own lane and stay true to who I was without getting distracted by what everyone else was doing around me.
That's such good advice. Such good advice. Because I think a lot of times we look at other people that are influencers as well, and we try to mimic or be like, oh my God, like maybe I need to do that and try it. And if it doesn't work, then we're like stressed out, like we're not doing a good job. So I think that's really important what you said, to stay in your lane. Yeah. Taryn, how about you?
Yeah, so I think that, you know, one, I will raise my hand and say I struggled with, like, I didn't love the content I was putting out. Like, I feel like the level of content was just, I had my fair share of like blurry photos. I had my fair share of like just not great photos, and like ones that I would put out and instantly feel like that is not my best work, you know, like, and I just think I had to find tools to really kind of overcome that and to be successful with that. And so that was one of the things. And all the while I'm trying to figure out what my brand is. And so I know that most of the times I'm kind of a hot mess. Like I got kids that are over here acting a mess. And so like, it's just a lot going on. And so I also was trying to figure out like, who am I? And so I wanted to kind of create this brand that kind of can show that you can be a hot mess sometimes, but still like look cute at the same time, if that makes sense. And so I was trying to navigate that and trying to share our life very authentically, but then didn't know like, all right, if I share too much, will that look like, all right, I'm in shambles and like I'm a mess? And so then I just stopped overthinking it. And I was just like, you know what, just do it. Someone will connect with you, even if it's one person will accept it. And so that's kind of where it's been. And so all the while, like as I'm trying to learn my authentic voice, I started at that point learning how to create content that resonates, because it's like, even if you have this voice that you want to share, you still have to put out good enough content visually where somebody connect to it and want to engage with it.
I love that. You said be authentic, be you, be yourself, but then at the same time, figure out how to connect with other people while being yourself. Mm-hmm. It's a tough task. I think it's something like you said, the journey, like it's not something that you figure out overnight, but through it all, stay authentic, stay yourself. What advice would you give someone interested in turning their love for storytelling and content creation into a successful business, brand, and career? Is there anything you wish you had known when you started out? Taryn, back to you.
Well, this is just not the best timing because my little one just ran in here. And this is where I'm saying that the life is. And so I am going to just power through this moment. Can you please rephrase the question, because my little Cyrus is running around.
Well, we can go to Candace and we can come back to you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is, like, while the digital space is growing really, really rapidly, building a digital brand takes time. So give yourself time, grace, patience. I think back to Taryn's point about like trying to figure out like authenticity, sharing enough, not too much. You go through that process, but just know that this industry, it's large and there's room for you, but you have to give yourself time and space to figure out what your role is in the space.
So true. I think I like froze for a second there. I'm sorry.
And I'm good now.
Okay.
So sorry, my husband had to grab Cyrus, but honestly, I would just say be consistent, because I feel like when I first was starting out, I was so worried about failing that I was just like, all right, it almost like froze me. I wasn't doing anything. And so not doing anything is not connecting you with your audience. And so find your consistency. And then honestly, I know so many people are out there like, hey, I want to be making a lot of money blogging, but I feel like really be firm and build your brand first before you're worried about like the coins that come with it, And so sometimes like we'll be so quick to like grow and like be successful that it's like we aren't really creating like a strong brand and strong connections. And I know for me, I'd rather have like a smaller audience that I'm like really connected with and really engaged with than a large audience that no one's engaging with. And so I just really think that figure out your brand, figure out how to connect with your community, and really be consistent.
Steph, how about you?
For me, like something that I always tell people, because I feel like this is probably one of my more common questions in my DMs, is like stay rooted in passion. Like there are, like you said earlier, like really long days, early mornings, late nights. And if you're not doing what you love or staying true to yourself, it's not going to feel worth it. And you're not going to be able to see the reward. I mean, like when you look at Instagram and you see people who are successful and see people who are really thriving in this space, there's a lot of work that goes into it, but there's also a lot of love for what we do and what we share. So stay rooted in passion, because that will sustain you. So, I mean, that's what I would say.
Be passionate about what you're doing. And I think that's even outside of influencing. I think that's with life in general. Like you should be passionate about the things that you do in life. So our next question is, influencing is about representation of your community, sharing who you are and what your interests are, inspiring and educating the people in your network and beyond. As individuals with influence, is there anything you've learned or reflected upon over the last few weeks that you would like to share with everyone that's on here with us tonight? And let's start with Candace this time.
Yeah, so I think the last, like, how long has it even been? Like, has it been 2 months now? Like, it's been incredibly heavy, but I think through the hard conversations and the heaviness, a lot of hope has been birthed. And I think for me personally, what I'm hoping that transpires in this season is that we grow to have true appreciation for cultural differences. Cultural differences are what makes us all inherently unique. And so I'm hoping that through this, we can continue to look at each other individualistically and appreciate those differences that all make us inherently unique.
So true. Steph?
Like Candace said, I mean, so much has happened over the last few weeks and months. But through the conversations that we've had, and some really tough conversations, I feel like we've made progress towards a better future for the Black community, people of color, just by using our voices. So something that I've learned is it's just so important to use your platforms and voices for good, to bring awareness to the things that matter. Because if you don't, we wouldn't be making the traction that we are making right now. So use your voice, use your platform for good, and don't be afraid of doing so.
Yeah, I think it's so crucial in this time, whoever you are, you know, like if you have influencer or not, to literally stand up for what is right, and use your voice for something that's good and like that you're passionate about. Taryn, how about you?
Yeah, I think to piggyback off of what everybody says, like I feel like learned how valuable my voice is, you know, over this past 2 months, and how people are truly listening. And so it's like you are doing your community a disservice by kind of being scared to speak up. And so, and I learned how to really kind of connect with both audiences and different communities, with love and leading with unity, because I feel like all of it kind of comes down to, you know, we have to achieve like overcoming some of these inequalities. We have to do it by coming together. And so, I just learned how valuable my voice is and how many other influencers' voices are valued. And so we just have to continue to push this ahead and not let this just die down by being a trend.
Exactly. Like I always say, it's a movement. It's something that the conversation is not going to die. And we should be happy to have open conversations about it. Not everyone understands the Black community. Not everyone understands us. So be willing to have those conversations with people. So we're on our final question, but I have something up my sleeve for you guys before we get to that. So I thought it would be fun if you guys could share at least one fun thing that you've learned, or maybe that you did, or maybe something that has happened during quarantine with you and your families during this time that people may not know.
I don't know, girl. I've been in this house.
You've been prepping a baby, a nursery.
Okay, thank you. That's mine.
You know, honestly, kind of, to be honest, quarantine was kind of a whirlwind for us, but because it's ending in triumph, I will share it. But, you know, we were building a house and we lost it due to COVID and the mortgage industry shutting down many mortgage programs. And we were basically getting like a week from closing. And so we were fortunate to be able to get under contract and start building another house. This was like all happening in March and April. And we were fortunate to get under contract and build a new house, an even bigger house, like not I'm saying in size, but just like bigger for us, like what we love. And it's just so awesome because it's like when one door closes, another one opened up. And so we love this house so much more. And so we closed in October.
Yay.
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
I was like, y'all, I'm only married. I have no kids. I'm getting an animal soon. So it's not like a lot of exciting things happening.
Yes, when do you get your puppy?
We get Roosevelt on Sunday, and he's such a nugget. So
what kind of dog are you getting?
A Labradoodle.
I have 3 Labradoodles, and you will love them. Yes.
Okay, good. I mean, we're pretty. But I would say the one thing I enjoyed most about quarantine is like I felt like I got to have a lot of quality time with Jason. I don't feel like we've had that since we dated, and just like it's almost like re-falling in love, you know, like spending so much time together. So it was really, really nice to like, you know, just have undivided attention for one another, and just, you know, talk through things, live life, all that good stuff.
See, Candace, that's amazing because we have kids, so.
Well, I want you to send your kids to me because I really want your kids.
You know what? I will send them.
I feel like they're mine every time I see them on stories. I'm like, there's Aubrey. Ashton.
I'll send them to you.
Okay, perfect. I have a dog.
All right. So our last question of the night before we get to Q&A is we want everyone tuning in for our panel event to apply to become an influencer if they haven't already. Can you ladies tell us how applying to be an influencer on rewardstyle helps your hopes of growing the Black influencer community, and why it's more important more than ever now? And let's start with Steph on this one.
Yeah, so I would say, I mean, there's just a need not only for more representation of people of color, different sizes, backgrounds, just overall, but also the acknowledgement and amplification of those diverse voices. So, you know, for me, like that was a huge motivator to participate in this panel, because I want to hopefully answer any questions and welcome anyone who's been on the fence or is just unsure with open arms, because there's an opportunity to add your voice to this space and it's needed. We all bring something different to the table. And I think a lot of times we sit back and we wonder, like, am I good enough? Is my content good enough? Do I have enough followers? When should I start? And like the time is now, like your voice is needed now. And so I would say, come on, we need you and you can do it.
Cheering you on. Uh-oh, I lost my page. I think it's Candace that's next. Sorry.
Oh yeah. So one of the things that I found, all talked about this at some point, is like not seeing other people who looked like us when we started in this space. Like I started back in, I think it was like 2009, and like there weren't other people that looked like me. And so a lot like my hope in doing this tonight is to give other women of color encouragement that you can indeed do this. You're capable. There are opportunities, you know, we're waiting for you to stand alongside you and to support you as you go through this journey. Like it's a very community centric space. We just lead each other on.
And Taryn, how about you?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to also come from the standpoint that one, there needs to be more Black voices on this platform. And I think that I definitely did this panel to kind of encourage other women of color to get on here and apply, and because their voices are needed. But, you know, I also think that sometimes we may not go after this platform because we think that maybe, you know, our voice is not going to be heard, and it absolutely is. You know, I've been able to continuously grow on this platform, and also from the business standpoint, it brings another avenue of revenue for your business. And so, you know, while we love putting out content for our audience to connect with, it also is a good business decision because it helps you grow financially as well. And so I just recommend you to get on this platform if you are on the fence, because your voice is needed. There is somebody that needs to connect with you and the items that you love to share.
I love it. I think everything that you guys said is so true, in that sometimes people may feel like if they join the platform, they're not going to be supported. And I think that the Reward Style team is so amazing at helping you grow your business, whatever that may be or whatever that may look like for you. So definitely apply, use the tools and the resources that they provide for you. And with that said, let's open it up to the audience for questions. I see tons of questions rolling in, but feel free at the bottom of your screen down there, it should have a little tab on there where you can ask questions. And let's see what the first question is tonight. Ooh, a good one. What are some tips and tricks on how to successfully plan out your content? And I think anyone can kind of dive in and answer that.
So I use a couple of apps. Pregnancy Brain, I can't remember what it's called. I think one of it is called Mosaico. I use that because I like to see visually how my content will look on my feed. But then also planning, and I guess it would also depend on your you know, what you're blogging about or what you share on Instagram. But if you are someone who works full time and you are pressed for time, I say batch your content. Like I get so much done when I feel like getting it done, especially right now being super pregnant. But like get as much done and shoot as much as you can when you can. That way you always have something to pull from. And then really add variety to what you're shooting, different colors, different backgrounds, just so that you always have just a really fresh feed, but that doesn't feel like it was all shot on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend, like, I find brainstorming sessions very, very like helpful, like a thorough, you know, 4-week glance of what I'm of what I'm planning to do, and kind of get it set out for the week. Obviously you can flex if you need to, depending on what happens or if a collaboration opportunity comes in, but really having like a nice kind of outline. And then back to Stephanie's point, I think creating content that's really evergreen and specific to you. Like lately during quarantine, I was able to go back and utilize photos from a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, but they were consistent with who I am as an individual. And so they became evergreen. So I think being really, really intentional in that manner is helpful for content longevity.
I would say for me, it's really important for me to connect with my audience by sharing content as I have life happen, just based on the type of influencer and the type of content that I share. And so I make sure that I always put on the calendar all of my partnerships, but I also kind of have blocked out days of when I am going to share like just as it happens, as life happens. And so I just make sure that I lock in my partnerships, but I feel like my audience resonates well when I kind of look like I have like more of a raw, just, hey, I just snapped a picture and I'm posting it.
Perfect. Our next question is, who's one influencer each of you look to for inspiration?
I'll start. So for me, like I love Monica. Yeah. So Odd by Monica, she has always been someone who has pushed me to like know your worth, you know, create great content. I'll never forget like New York Fashion Week, I think it was 2018. We were at brunch, like Toronto Shay was there, not Shay Monet.
The other Shay.
Other Shay.
The other Shay. And Janelle from Wait You Need This, and I think Tanya, Darling T. And we were just talking, and like we just had this moment where it was like, you have to know your worth. And she's always just been someone who has pushed me and motivated me. And like since that conversation, like what I've been able to bring in financially from my blog has just grown year after year after year. So I would say Monica for sure.
Taryn, how about you? Oh, go ahead, Candace. Go ahead.
I know. I was going to say Monica for sure for me too. Just a huge cheerleader and encourager to like know your worth. She's always one of the first people I call, you know, if I'm in flux on a situation. But definitely Monica in terms of business, and then stylistically, I really love Janelle from Wait You Need This.
Yeah.
I would say for me, who I connect with, and I feel like I love the way that they handle themselves on their feed and then behind the scenes, would definitely be Ruthie Ridley. She has been so great to get advice for, and just like we've kind of grown through this process. And so I love how curated her feed is. Mine's not quite like that, I wish, but you know, I just feel like she has that balance of just how to create content, how to also have a full-time job and just kind of thrive in that sense. And then I also love the way like kind of style wise and how I connect with Hot Off the Rack.
Those are all great people. Love them. Let's see. Another good question. I should wear my glasses for this. When you first started out, what was the most successful way you found to grow your following?
That was like the OG days of like when it was easy to grow a following on Instagram. Like it just was natural. But I think honestly, it sounds so cliche, consistency. And like you have to wait for your moment. Like you never know when your moment is going to happen, which is why you have to be consistent, because one day it could just happen. So consistency is definitely the name of the game, and just, you know, work the process, let it work for you.
Steph?
Yeah. Definitely be consistent. I would say if I find that I have the most successful months financially and growth-wise when I'm producing consistent content. And in the beginning, just really engaging with my audience. Like, I think a lot of times people are so focused on growing a number when you should really engage with the people you have and then allow that to help you spread and grow. So like nurture the audience that you have. and, you know, invest in them, spend time with them, stay engaged with them, and then you'll grow just naturally as well.
Yeah, I agree. I will also say when I started producing like better quality content, I noticed a change that brands actually wanted to show my content, you know, and so the more that I was able to kind of create quality content, I was having brands that wanted to use my ads, my posts for paid ads and get in front of more people. And so I feel like creating good content that a brand wants to share is another way for your brand to get more eyeballs on you. And I found now that like I have, because I connect with my audience and I try to engage with them as much as possible, I also have, you know, that my audience will tell me that, you know, I shared your page to like my best friend, we both follow you, my aunt, my uncle, whatever. And so definitely just pour into your audience because they will share your name.
Well, we have questions. Let me see. We have time for a few more questions. One that I love, it says, yes, Black voices, group hug.
Yay!
One says, how have you all been able to pivot and evolve your brand over the years, but still stay connected to your audience? Taryn, you want to go first?
Yeah, so I will say that one thing for me is that my content is just kind of doing life with my audience. So it doesn't matter whether I have 1 follower or 1 million. I feel like that is always going to stay the same, that I'm doing my daily life. So it's not going to change that I have to, you know, get my kids dressed. I have a kid that's running around here like a crazy person. And so that never changes. And, you know, regardless, I still like showing affordable style. And so I know that my audience really enjoys seeing that. And so I won't change, you know, so it doesn't matter how much I grow, I am still the same person. And so that was why it's important for me to just really share who I am authentically, because I will not change. And so I feel like that's for me key.
Candace?
I would say, like, I actually feel like I'm going through a pivot right now. And I feel like you start laying the groundwork months prior to the pivot. So when the pivot does happen, the audience is on board. So I feel like I've probably been pivoting since like October of last year. I haven't done the full transition just yet, but I think when your content is also authentic and kind of parallels your life, I think your audience naturally sees that. And once you make the decision that you're going to go ahead and go for the pivot, you lay the foundation work, and then you finally loop them in on it. And they're like, oh, well, I saw that already for 5 months. You know, like I knew that was coming. So I think just kind of laying the groundwork incrementally and going from there.
Steph?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what Candace touched on is key. You have to lay the groundwork, no surprises. That way your audience feels really connected to the transition. You know, so like when I started introducing beauty, it happened really organically because that was what people were asking for. And then family, same thing. And then like motherhood, like just sharing our pregnancy announcement and just letting it just evolve naturally. But laying the groundwork is really critical, just so that they understand the direction that you're going and come with you.
Awesome. I think we have time for one more question. If one of you just want to take it before we wrap it up. It says, how do you find your tribe and connect with other bloggers when you're first starting out? Any workshops, conferences that you guys would recommend?
I mean, I think joining the Like to Know It platform is a great way to do that. I found all of you through that, and that was like the connection point. So I think finding a technology or a community similar to rewardstyle is really, really helpful in that regard. And then secondarily, I would encourage you guys to look within your own city and state. You can reach out to people on social and connect with people there and then begin to form these relationships. But I think joining a larger platform is definitely step one, and you'll definitely find community within that.
Perfect. Well, guys, that's a wrap. Thank you again for everyone that joined us tonight. If you'd like to learn more about Like to Know It and how you can make influencing a viable career, visit rewardstyle.com/apply. And someone from the Like to Know It team will definitely be in touch and reach out to you. So I hope everyone had a good night. I've learned so much from you ladies, so thank you, thank you. And everyone have a great night.
Yeah, I just want to say one thing because there's several questions. Like I see someone like that was trying to get a question in. I'll go through and like answer the questions. Like I think we all can after, like maybe later tonight or tomorrow. So if your question wasn't answered, we'll definitely address it. So I just wanted to make sure that that was said.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I think that is it. And you guys have a good night.
Have a good night.
All right, thank you.